Who is Rotus? Hey,
Good
Rotus.
morning, Valentine. Good morning,
Good
Lagos.
morning, Wale.
Good morning,
Good
Valentine.
morning.
Wale of Sigma Pensions is with
Thank
us.
you.
Did you catch that? Good morning, or Wale say again?
Good morning,
All right,
Ah,
there
Lagos.
you
there you go.
go.
Join the conversation. Send us messages through WhatsApp. That number is 0809 On Twitter, we're at Smooth91FM. Use that hashtag Business Express 981. And of course, we're streaming live on YouTube. So join us, please.
All right, thank you. All right, Wale, we start with the stock market. So it dropped below 30,000 points yesterday. I think it was down by 0.37%. 29,936. I think market is down by 4.7% yet to date. Any thing to look at as far as it's quote unquote dropping below that psychological barrier? What do you think about where we are now?
I think just more bearish news. I mean,
Mm,
oil prices have played part of that. I mean, we've seen them come off of late. But I think also the market seems quite cheap, and that's just because there's not much interest both from foreign investors as well as on the local side as well.
okay.
I mean, a lot of local investors, I mean, last 1 year, equities haven't done very well.
Mm,
And I think also fundamentally as well, because the economy isn't growing quite well. So I think generally everybody just feels bearish towards equities. And then, of course, you have double-digit interest rates on the table as well. So
right.
and if you weigh those two, you find more investors willing to try their luck with fixed income as against equities.
That's
So
a good.
I suspect that's driving that.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. We had the 20 stocks that gained in value, 16 that dropped. I think Prestige was our top gainer. Thomas Watt, I believe, was our top loser. All right. We move on from the stock market. Thank you for that, Wale. On to inflation. Inflation for May. The figures came out yesterday from the Bureau of Statistics. Wale, I show an increase to 11.4% in May, up from 11.37. What was behind that?
3 basis points.
Three. We have to
Yeah,
report it now. We have to
yeah,
report every small move.
yeah. I think the last time I was here, I said inflation has pretty much remained 11.4 for the last since July last year. That's
Right.
pretty much the average. So it's like really not going anywhere. And
Mm.
the reason is because the numbers sort of tell that on the core inflation side, which I think is probably what monetary policy probably should look at. Inflation has really declined to as low as 9%.
Okay.
However, food inflation has trended up north, and that's primarily because you have seasonal factors. I mean, we're no longer in. I mean, most crops or most food products in Nigeria are no longer in season.
Right.
And that's because this is not harvest period. Harvest is usually from second half of the year, August, September, towards the end of the year.
Okay.
And so that seasonal factor will sort of mean that food prices tend to rise over this period, over the first half of the year to the second half of the year. And so that's what you're seeing coming through on the food side of things. You see, I suspect most of that is seasonal. Is seasonal issues. You also had Ramadan in between as well, which
Mm.
can sort of create demand on that. But I think the core story really is that the underlying pattern for inflation is moving much deeper into single digits.
Okay.
Now, which sort of tells us that look, the underlying price pictures, if you exclude these volatile items, food prices is much more stable. Or
Okay.
rather, it's not stable, but is the rate of increase is more manageable. I mean, it should be within where the central bank is okay with.
Okay.
But I think the point we have now is just headline continues to remain above that, and so
Well, where we
we're
are.
where we are. Yeah, we're pretty
And
much going nowhere. And I think overlying all of that is just really the fact that currency has been stable.
Mm.
Key prices in the economy haven't moved. Fuel prices have remained stable, and so that's really why you're seeing that.
so for the rest of the year, you expect us to trend at this, well, as far as headline is concerned, at this double-digit figure. This about
Yeah,
11%.
probably close
Okay.
11%. Yeah.
All right. So stock market, inflation. All right. Let's move to some private companies. Benga, I see your message there on population. I'm going to get to that in a second. Wale, the IFC, that is the International Finance Corporation, and its IFC Asset Management Company, says here that they're in this. I think according to a press release, I believe from EcoBank here, that they're in advanced discussions to sell their equity stake in EcoBank. What's happening here?
Yeah, I think across board they probably own around 14% of ETI,
Okay.
which is the EcoBank group, and I think they're looking to exit that position. Whether or not that position is in the money, I'm not too sure, but
Mm.
I suspect they probably have their reasons. I mean, EcoBank has traditionally been a play on Africa.
Right.
Yeah, most people probably think, okay, if I want to invest in Africa, across this is probably the platform to sort of do that,
Mm.
given that it's reflected in around 33 African countries. whether that has played that in the last few years, EcoBank has gone through a bit of a rough ride because most African economies, as commodity prices came down, sort of struggled.
Right.
In the last 2 years, earnings has stabilized a bit as they sort of dealt with some of the asset quality issues. Maybe IFC feels it's a good time for them
to exit.
yeah.
Okay, and I think just to reiterate what you're saying here is that some may feel this. Do you think that they should perhaps concentrate on their presence in fewer African countries going forward? I mean, what's the street saying, or what's Broad Street saying, as they say?
Okay. So I think one thing, if you're looking at banks, is are they generating a return on equity well above where their cost of equity is?
Right.
I think for EcoBank, I think last year they probably did, but in prior years they probably struggled to do that. So that had always raised the question that maybe they're involved in too many countries. Some of these countries are not generating ROEs that are significant to the group again. And so, I mean, there's always that argument there that maybe the Pan-African region having footprints in too many countries may not necessarily be ROE positive to shareholders.
Right.
I mean, shareholders in most companies, the ultimate goal of a shareholder is really, am I getting richer?
Right.
The metric to look at is typically the ROE.
Right.
And so if a company is not doing that, then you want to ask yourself, do you think maybe we should rationalize our footprint based on companies that make us money than pursuing this Pan-African dream?
Okay, good stuff. And is this? I mean, this is a strategic move on their part, but do you think? How do you think? I think it's been said that the market might take this negatively, or I mean, we could go either way. What do you think?
If you have an investor like IFC, sort of leaving, typically people always wonder because he's an institutional investor.
Right.
Well, EcoBank has two big institutional investors currently in the world. They have Nedbank and they also have Qatar National Bank. So I suspect maybe people will still they still have other big institutions
that are still there. Interesting stuff. Thank you for that. Let's see. Okay, Valentine, shall we check what Benga was talking about with population?
Yes, we can. So Benga Komo says, so the United Nations reported our population is over 200 million. In other nations, this will be used as an advantage, but it's anything but that here. The wealth of any country is in its people.
Good stuff. So, Wale, where are you on the whole? I know we've talked about this. You've had your doubts, Wale, on our population
How does it measure up to the growth of our economy?
Yeah, but what do you think?
I think if the number is correct, because we haven't actually had a population census to determine what it is. This is an estimate, and then we're just applying a growth number to what we did in 2006. So the number is correct, and we're growing at. I mean, Nigeria's population growth is very rapid.
Yeah.
The question is, what does it mean for growth as a whole? I mean, clearly, if we're not growing at that phase, then it's going to mean pressure at some point. I mean, Nigeria reported a Q1 deficit, and part of that is because you see a big rise in import demand.
Right.
I mean, import demand continues to grow fast because you have
a rising population.
Right. So, are you producing enough to be able to balance out for them to be able to service their consumption? If you're not doing that, then it means the problems lie ahead. So your population may not actually be a demographic dividend. It may be
a liability. Wow. Okay, good stuff.
And Darlington from our papa says, good morning. I saw the video from Mr. Atedo Peter's side. He spoke truth to power. I hope the big players do not kill the young entrepreneurs or continue to kill them. Mephi, that's Mephi, SCBN governor, should breach these multiple FX windows. You can't plan to with self-inflicted uncertainties. Darlington from our papa.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Okay,
go ahead.
On YouTube, yes, from Isaac. Isaac says, good morning. I can hardly hear the discussion. Please can the guest speak a bit louder?
He's a soft-spoken guy. Wale will try and raise his voice for you. Thank you, Isaac. Thank you, Darlington. Thank you, Benga. Wale, you mentioned import demand. Darlington is sending us his message from our papa. So let's move on to this particular story that links the two here. Dangote's Nascon Allied Industries moves operations out of our papa, as the news reports here. I think we pretty much know why. But in case anybody is wondering, Wale, why is Dangote? You can shout if you want. Why?
I think they're citing the fact that the gridlock is too much of an issue for them, and they would just rather operate from elsewhere. I mean, I heard companies are talking about the days they get, number of days they spend to clear their containers on the port.
Right.
Some companies are talking about 2-3 months. I mean,
wow.
I think it's always an issue if you're a manufacturer and having difficulties doing that.
And Rotus will echo our four-word phrase.
Yeah.
ease of doing business.
Business, right.
Our usual.
Shout out to
Always say this.
PEBEC, the Presidential Enabling Business, is it enabling ease of doing business council. They are the ones that are supposed to be going over this. Did I say we jumped? We moved off, have we? Or in the rankings or something like that, a few places. But this is the reality
This is
here.
the reality,
Yeah, this is reality.
I think the issue just with the port is just again perhaps to the population argument. The
But
ports
let
were built in
1970s, yeah.
to handle a population that was much smaller than where we are today, and so the amount of cargo traffic that is going through there
Has increased.
has increased from those levels. So the solution really is probably to expand the capacity of power port or to divert traffic to other ports
Yeah.
in Nigeria. I mean, right? Because almost everybody comes to Apapa. I mean, you have other seaports that are not being used. So I think if we could do that or we expand the capacity of our port to handle that. Because
Well,
clearly,
how difficult
coping
is
with
that though?
Well,
How difficult is that? Because the cynic in me is beginning to believe that or think
that
or
they are leaving
suspect
it
that
there
it's
so that
artificial.
they can generate Valentine. Let's not go there. Let's leave that alone.
We have more messages.
More messages. Okay.
Darlington here says, before Uncle Dangote story, tanker drivers are the fourth arm of the law. We're facing a day now, people.
Wow. And in fact, speaking of which, doesn't look like the presidential directive went anywhere.
No.
Right? It
72 hours.
It did. Nothing
That
happened.
was like
Issues are still there.
4 weeks ago.
Now wow. Okay. Well, what else we touch on? And the NSC has placed 34 companies on red alerts. Wale, what's going on with the NSC and these red alerts that they're putting companies on?
Yeah, I think this is an issue that a lot of investors flag, which is that companies aren't meeting their filing requirements, so they're not providing up-to-date information, their financials are way behind schedule. Then maybe the NSE should put some form of information out there so that investors know and just sort of try to avoid these companies.
Right.
This is a follow-up what happened with Skybank last
Yeah,
year.
exactly. Yeah.
The company hadn't released financials for quite a while. Was still trading and prices were moving and no one had seen anything about it. So
Yeah.
I think by putting the trade alert, it just sort of alerts you that look, whilst you may want to be interested in these companies, just be aware that
They haven't released their financials.
Or there's no more up-to-date information that you can use to assess their.
Well done, NSC. We appreciate the stock exchange. And I can't list all 34, but I'll post the story so you guys can read it. Thank you for your messages. Wale Okunriboye of Sigma Pensions, as usual, we appreciate you coming on to give us an insightful analysis on what's going on in markets. And
just as a means of closing, let's take this final message, last two messages. This one's from Topper. It says, I think there should be a regulation on the mind of the trucks allowed on our roads. Okay, I passed by some days ago. I just kept praying that it doesn't fall on me. It was so bad. Yes,
hey, I'm there as well. Right. It scares me as well. Talk about that's a good point.
And Tolu says, can the Apapa port run a 24-hour shift? And Bukola says, the ports won't be so congested if we fixed electricity and restored all our manufacturing industries instead of becoming an import-consuming nation.
Solid points. Thank you for your points. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
all right.
Cheers, guys. Next, we have a fun conversation talking about how we can fuel our hustle with new tech.